Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. You know, it's never the album bomb weeks that are actually interesting to me. It's the weeks that come after. The fallout period where you see the headlong rush to plug the holes in the Hot 100. And considering the summer music season tends to have a bit of a dry spell in album releases, this is the time where songs that might not otherwise cross over actually have a shot for some traction, where the weird or strange stuff might start to bubble up to the surface. Where the logic breaks down, of course, comes in our top 10, because once again, barely anything moved at all. Although you could make the argument that the bigger shift is only a matter of time. Once again, Despacito by Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee, and the remix with Bieber is at number 1 thanks to dominance on sales, streaming, especially YouTube. But how long that will last as airplay seems to have peaked? I like to say that Wild Thoughts by DJ Khaled featuring Rihanna and Bryson Tiller could make a run for the number 1 thanks to streaming, YouTube, especially the radio, except again, its sales are nowhere close to what they need to be. What might actually have more of a shot down the road is actually Unforgettable by French Montana and Sway Lee up to number 3, picking up traction in all categories, just not quite enough inertia there yet. If it makes up ground in sales and radio, it could handily get there. Managed to jump over That's What I Like by Bruno Mars at number 4, as that seems to be fading in all categories, yet still has enough right now to hold up over Believer by Imagine Dragons at number 5, which doesn't quite have the streaming to jump over it, but you know what, it is getting there. Now all this jump past I'm the One by DJ Khaled featuring Bieber, Quavo, Chance the Rapper, and Lil Wayne down to number 6, which is actually starting to slip on streaming and sales. And with radio and freefall, it might be out of the top 10 pretty quickly. And then we've got a gauntlet of 4 songs here from white guys that are pretty much all here for the exact same reasons. Radio, sales. And in order, we've got Attention by Charlie Puth at number 7, better sales and radio momentum, that's why it's up. There's Nothing Holding Me Back by Shawn Mendes. It's got more radio, but slightly weaker in other categories. Shape of You by Ed Sheeran at number 9. Residual YouTube propping up other weaknesses as it fades away naturally, and Body Like a Back Road by Sam Hunt, where at least radio seems to have peaked for this song, and hopefully we'll be rid of this scourge sooner rather than later. And on that pleasing note, our losers and dropouts. Now, aside from the expected Meek Mill dropouts and The Fighter by Carrie Underwood and Keith Urban exiting again, the only 2 songs that are worthy of discussing here further are The Story of OJ by Jay-Z leaving, along with finally, Closer by the Chainsmokers featuring Halsey, and it's about damn time too. But again, in the aftermath of an album bomb, it's kind of fascinating to see what continues to collapse versus what sticks around or even gains. Because while of course Whatever You Need by Meek Mill featuring Chris Brown and Ty Dolla $ign went to 62, the fact that it's pulling back Bad Liar by Selena Gomez to 67, or Malibu by Miley Cyrus to 55 along with it, that's kind of intriguing. Then you've got the losers for returning entries and new arrivals, none of which are all that surprising for me, with Heavy by Linkin Park featuring Kiara down to 96, Back to You by Louis Tomlinson with Bebe Rexha and Digital Farm Animals to 74, and What's My Name by China and McCain down to 84. I think my surprise there is that it didn't drop all the way out. I kind of wouldn't mind if it did. Finally, we have To You by David Guetta featuring Justin Bieber at 44. I was mixed on it from the very beginning. I'm not surprised that it's starting to fade away early. Wouldn't be surprised if this drops out. But where things get really interesting comes in our returning entries and our gains. In the former category, we didn't quite get as many as I was expecting. Really, all that came back was Do Re Mi by Black Bear to 75, and really, does anybody really care about or even like that song? Where there's a lot more going on comes in our gains, and let's get the easy explanations out of the way first. Though I'm a little bit amazed at some of its traction, Bodak Yellow by Cardi B is still surging, now up to 14, and it's no surprise that Loyalty by Kendrick Lamar featuring Rihanna went up to 31 off of that video. It's a pretty good video too. Then there are the recoveries for songs like Meek Mill hit that rebounded naturally, Thunder by Imagine Dragons up to 54, Reminder by The Weeknd up to 73, and Down by Fifth Harmony featuring Gucci Mane to 80. And while those latter 2 are a little bit surprising for me, the big shot came for the country songs that picked up big gains once Meek Mill's streaming slid out of the picture. Do I Make You Wanna by Billy Currington up to 47, What Ifs by Kane Brown featuring Lauren Elena to 48, Drinkin' Problems by Midland up to 50, Heartache on the Dance Floor by John Party up to 63, and unfortunately, Flatliner by Cole Swindle featuring Dierks Bentley up to 56. The rest are a scattered selection of songs with various degrees of health. No Promises by Cheat Codes featuring Demi Lovato up to 51 with some continued stability. Young, Dumb and Broke by Khalid gaining a bit of traction up to 64, and most surprisingly for me, Feel It Still by Portugal the Man up to 34, breaking the top 40 in total defiance of any expectations, including what I would otherwise expect coming from the band itself. But again, we've got a heavy list of pretty diverse new arrivals. So let's start off with number 99, For Her by Chris Lane.
Drop your plans, drop a grand, hell where the money goes. She make you wanna fight for her, she make you wanna die for her, yeah. She make you wanna fall, make you want it all, make you wanna call.
Okay, so do you all remember that song Fix from a year or so ago? Country that was basically borderline pop, ridiculously catchy, but given some of the worst possible lyrics? Well, turns out Chris Lane actually put out an album around this time last year that actually moved units, so we've now got a follow-up single, and yeah, it's nowhere near as distinctive as Fix was, or at least tolerable as that song was, and as such, this is a fair bit less likable. Let's put aside the fact that Chris Lane is a pretty unimpressive singer for this particular brand of bro country, and that the lyrics are just pure generic bro country love song fodder, but my big issue of course comes in the production. Apparently instead of keeping all that sort of burly, noisy grooves that Joey Moy used to use, someone introduced him to the concept of trap hi-hats and more synthetic percussion. And while he does try to bury it under some choppier guitars, it still comes through on a composition that feels a lot more stilted than it really should for country music. In other words, it's more mediocre, over-processed pop country for the meat grinder that's gonna be forgotten in a day or two. Next, number 98, All the Pretty Girls by Kenny Chesney.
Don't blow my cover on free tonight. I'm coming over, call all your friends. Somebody hold me, all the pretty girls said. All of the whiskey went to my head. Shut up and kiss me, all the pretty girls said.
And on the topic of forgettable bro country checklist songs, we got another single from Kenny Chesney's last album, Cosmic Hallelujah, which if you remember my review from last year, that album was disposable at best. And it's easily to point to why this song falls into a similar category. That odd flat guitar layer that goes over the rougher grooves that actually adds some personality, a melody that feels utterly recycled and really doesn't modulate as much as it should, and lyrics imported straight from tired bro country cliches about small town kids running wild, getting drunk, and nailing a hapless Kenny Chesney. It just feels so tired to me, not melodically interesting or vibrant enough in order to really connect with me on a deeper level. There was some potential in some of the rougher opening grooves, and if this plays in the background at a country bar, I would not hate it, but again, I'm not gonna remember this either. A lot like that album. Number 97, Learn to Let Go by Kesha. So I'm gonna have a lot more to say when I review Kesha's upcoming album Rainbow in a week or so, but one comment that I've seen circulating around the music critic community is that if there is anyone who has earned the right to make a record full of self-esteem and recovery anthems, it really is Kesha. I'm not entirely certain I agree with that though. More from a larger career perspective, I like it when she gets into weirder territory, and now she's pretty much got the opportunity to do it. But at the same time, there is a place for a song like Learn to Let Go that I really do like, as she confronts her own messaging of owning your past and not letting it define you going forward, excising the bitter, lingering messages from those bad experiences, and living up to her own words and ideas. And for the sort of record that Kesha looks to be making, that's a really good message. I just wish I liked the music and production a fair bit more. I appreciate the reliance on more live drums, and those compressed guitar layers still maintain some real rollicking spark of a melody to them. That's kind of impressive. But I can't be the only one who thinks that that slightly lo-fi filter on a lot of her vocals could have been pull back for the hook or the bridge, and the groove feels stiffer than I would otherwise like. It's a little too percussion heavy. It's a decent song, sure, and there's a part of me that likes the rougher, more homegrown feel to it. I like that direction for Kesha going forward, but it's not in the same tier as Praying. It'll be interesting to see what will come out of Rainbow as a whole, so I guess we'll see. Number 94, Every Little Thing by Carly Pearce.
I remember every little thing, the high, the hurt, the shine, the sting of every little thing.
So this was only a matter of time before Carly Pearce showed up on the Hot 100, mostly because she seems like one of the extremely limited number of women that country radio is bothering to promote. And while I could go on an extended tirade how we have no need for that much forgettable bro country that's clogging up the genre right now, I've already covered 2 songs in that particular vein this week, and there will soonly be more. I'm more interested in praising what we could get from an artist, and considering this is coming from Big Machine with Buzzbee on production, this is actually better than I was expecting. Yeah, the percussion is a little bit more emphasized than I would personally prefer, but the mixing and overall presentation is a lot more organic in the guitar pickup and piano than I was expecting, and Pearce's deeper vocal tone has a lot of promise to it. I guess if I were to nitpick, I find the lyrics a little bit thin at points, especially on the hook. It's clearly playing to the template of young, lingering heartbreak. I just wish that there was a little bit more detail to the story or intensity in the delivery to flesh it out a little more. Still, it's promising enough, and while I could rattle off a list of other women in country who deserve as much, if not more, promotion, it's solid enough. Hope it does well. Good song. Number 93, Wish I Knew You by the Revivalists.
We can share a moon, yeah. 2 strangers in the bright light. I wish I knew you. I wish I knew you. Oh, I wish I knew you when I was young.
It's a really bad sign when I do research to discover the reason a particular indie rock song got popular and I discover it's because of a commercial. And yeah, that's the reason why Wish I Knew You is now on the Hot 100. Although I do give some credit for how much it apparently has dominated adult alternative radio, and yet my first thought upon hearing this is how much it reminds me of Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. I mean, you hear some of that, right? The guitar tone, the rollicking bass line, the huskier vocals that are not CeeLo Green, but certainly is playing in that brand of retro soul. Hell, you swap out the strings for the liquid, more reserved horns here around the hollower textures in the organ. It's not that far removed, and they both play to minor tones and melancholy and a slightly twisted sense of mystery in some of the lyrics. I don't know though, I keep wishing there was a little bit more edge and tightness in the hook to amp up that tension just a little bit more. This simmers really well, but eventually you do need to do a little bit more to let it really sink in for me. As this is though, yeah, this is remarkably solid as hell, and in comparison with most commercial-driven indie rock, I would not have a problem with this sticking around at all. Number 90, New Rules by Dua Lipa.
Don't let him in, you have to kick him out again. 3, don't be his friend. You know you're gonna wake up in his bed in the morning, and if you're under him, you ain't getting over him. I got no rules, I count him.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this one since I saw it start blowing up internationally. And the funny thing is that I still wouldn't put this in my top 5 favorite songs from that self-titled debut. But New Rules is still a damn solid pop song, taking a tropical groove that's balanced out to subtly crank up the bounce and tension in the rules of a connection that Dua Lipa is tempting fate by re-engaging. It also helps that she's enough of an emotive presence to carry a song like this. She's walking the narrow line of convincingly establishing those rules and having some meat behind them, but also showing how pliable they might be if she's not careful. I do wish that the breakdown for the instrumental did a little bit more beyond the hazy vocal snippets and horns. Again, this is not Lost in Your Light with Miguel, or Thinking About You, or Homesick with Chris Martin, or even Be the One. But you know what, for pop and this sort of groove, I like this a fair bit. Hope it does well. Number 89, The Weeknd by SZA.
My man is your man, her that's her man. Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, I just keep him satisfied through the weekend. You like 9 to 5, I'm the weekend.
I I get the feeling that SZA is likely stuck in the unfortunate position of trying to build her solo career, and yet some of her best songs are collaborations off of Control. But frankly, there were better choices for me than The Weeknd, and the funny thing is that this is still a pretty good song overall. I like SZA's exasperation of being the side girl to this guy, and speaking directly to the other woman in the situation and wanting a little bit more time beyond just The Weeknd. And coupled with some tasteful multi-tracking, a pretty tight bass groove, a nifty flip of a Justin Timberlake sample with some of the fluttering elements, I'd argue this is a pretty solid R&B tune. I can get behind this. On the flip side though, a little slow to get moving for me. I can't help but feel a little bit underwritten at points. And when you know that there might have been other SZA songs that might have done better, even solo SZA tracks, it can feel a little exasperating, at least to me. But still, good song. I'd certainly take this over, say, number 88, Honest by the Chainsmokers.
I don't need nobody else, but you're not the only one on my mind. If I'm being honest, if I'm being honest, you said I should be honest, so I'm being honest.
I was hoping we were done with these guys, and by all accounts, that was a fair assumption on my part, given that no singles broke through the week of this album's debut, and the record was pretty much panned across the board, including by yours truly. And guess what? I stand by that. And yet it should be no surprise to anyone that this song sucks. It's a piano-driven, sincere ballad where the Chainsmokers are touring, they're contemplating taking a girl home, but in thinking about their current relationship, they want to call up their girlfriends and say they're not over things, they want to hold on to something, but of course there are other girls on their minds, and they should kind of get a pass for that, because after all, they're just being honest, right? Such an emotionally manipulative song, as they stress that they don't even like touring. They wouldn't be thinking about this otherwise. You know what? Screw that. You're still an asshole, dude. You don't get special cookies for trying to split the difference in the relationship by saying you're just being honest here. And the stabs at sincerity feel so disingenuous, on top of the recycled chord progressions that you all expect from the Chainsmokers, and the quote they got from Bono of all people to open up a song where none of them have the confessional balls or presence as vocalists to sell that trial of hypocrisy in the human heart. Oh, and the drop is a lazy blur of two notes before the millennial whoops come in. Seriously, this blows. Move on. Number 87, They Don't Know by Jason Aldean.
Blood, sweat, and tears it took to live their dreams. When everything's on the line, ain't just another field, just another farm. No, it's the ground we grew up on. They think it's a middle of nowhere place where we take it slow. Oh, but they don't know.
Okay, at this point, I have no idea what the point is in me covering any more Jason Aldean songs, because his antisocial and weirdly defensive impulses combined with a monochromatic bro country, trying and mostly failing for a real rock edge, just leads to unpleasantness all around here. And while I was a little bit more forgiving of this song for a little bit more of a sharp acoustic groove and a halfway decent hook, I have a lot less patience for flyover country dribble that doesn't remotely engage with the real problems that rural America is facing, instead of just pumping out a meat-headed "they don't get us" anthem. Now don't get me wrong, there are real issues in those parts of the United States that deserve real attention, and the sooner that certain political parties get their heads out of their asses to present straightforward solutions, the better off that everyone will be, especially if said solutions don't compromise an ethos that too many people have fought a long time in order to build it. And there's music that actively engages and challenges a lot of these issues. A lot of it's in country, from artists like James McMurtry, Lori McKenna, Natalie Hemby, Jason Isbell. I could easily continue to flesh out this list. But this, from Jason Aldean of all people, is the same sort of pandering dreck that I hated on Flyover States, especially when in 2014, Jason Aldean was more than happy to steal from R&B for radio crossover, because R&B is such a rural genre these days, they don't understand that. And as for this, sure, they might not know, but Jason Aldean, you sure as hell know better. Number 85, When It Rains It Pours by Luke Combs.
Station on a 4-day, 3-night beach vacation. Deep sea senorita fishing down in Panama. And I ain't gotta see my ex-future mother-in-law anymore. Oh Lord, when it rains it pours.
There's a part of me that wants to like this guy. He's got a good voice, decent melodic instincts, and while his production and songwriting skills could use some serious work, I heard some potential in his breakthrough single Hurricane. Well, it actually turns out he actually followed up with a pretty decent country song. Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised by this. It's got a loose but detailed sense of humor that comes from going on a string of good luck after a bad breakup, and while it could use a little bit more meat on the bridge to flesh out the story, add a little bit more complexity, the production is remarkably straightforward and country, with the organic guitar tones, real drums, and a melodic foundation that, while pretty familiar, it's not bad at all. So okay, while I'm not one to immediately slot Luke Combs into the John Party or William Michael Morgan camp, this is in a direction I like, almost to the point where I'm amazed that his label let him release this as a single. But hey, it's the biggest country song that debuted this week, that's gotta mean something. But that's also because we got coming up next, number 68, Unforgettable by Thomas Rhett.
Song that you were singing, and I bet right now you're probably thinking that it's crazy. I remember every detail, but I do. From your blue jeans to your shoes, girl, that night was just like you, unforgettable.
So Thomas Rhett is releasing an album in September called Life Changes, and my patrons are probably going to make me cover it. And while Craving You was kind of tolerable if you squinted at it sideways, mostly thanks to Maren Morris, I've seen little to no evidence why I should give this guy another chance, especially after Tangled Up served as one of the worst listening experiences I've had in the last couple of years. So I did not expect this to be good, and I'd be hard-pressed to say that it is, but look, I have heard a lot worse from the guy. The most egregious issues I can find with it are mostly cosmetic. The percussion is way too heavy on the hook and trying for bombast that his vocal delivery cannot support, and the lyrics are basically a modernized version of Tim McGraw's Something Like That, except with references to Mango Ritas and Coldplay, because that's country enough for you folks. But again, this doesn't even feel much like country to me, even if with a heavier reliance on acoustic guitar to carry more of the melody. Frankly, it's acoustic pop in the vein of Jason Mraz or John Mayer or maybe even Shawn Mendes these days. And to be fair to Thomas Rhett, it's mostly tolerable in that vein because Shane McAnally still has an uncanny knack for flow in his songwriting. I don't like this is marketed on country radio, but it's tolerable enough outside of it. I don't recommend you seek out the interview that Thomas Rhett made about this song though, because to quote him directly, if you listen to it hardcore enough, might make you tear up a little bit. Yeah, okay, maybe on a good day Coldplay can pull that off, but I don't see Thomas Rhett as being capable of that, even if he does rip off Ed Sheeran again. And finally, number 38, You Da Baddest by Future featuring Nicki Minaj.
Hold up, wait 1 minute. Hold up, wait 1 minute. Yeah, hold up, wait 1 more. You know you the baddest, baby, fuck them hoes. Fuck them hoes. We on a different planet, girl, let's fuck them hoes. Fuck them hoes. Fuck them hoes.
So remember how I get kind of annoyed when artists tack on songs to the end of an album in a cheap attempt to string out more singles after the album's already released? Yeah, Future did it again, this time with Nicki Minaj in tow for a video and everything, which makes me wonder how much faith he actually had of that double album experiment, but okay, whatever, how's the song? I've heard worse from both of them. There's more bounce and melody to the deeper synths and the blubbery trap beat, and Future's sticking in his lower register, which is his best range, but he really doesn't give Nicki Minaj enough to do on this song, because her short verse midway through is easily the highlight of the track. Even if it is just empty flossing, she's got more personality, which still feels more memorable than Future saying the line, "Pussy's got more murders than New Mexico." Actually, I take that back. I don't know if Future's gonna top that line in the near future in the next couple of years. I just wish that he and Nicki weren't bending rhymes that don't need it to make the outro and intro work. It just feels kind of awkward, not in a good way. But overall, look, I've heard worse from both of them, but at the same time, I actually have heard better, with outside of that one Future line that kind of just blows my mind. I'm not quite certain how to comprehend it. Don't really see myself returning this song. Sorry. But overall, damn, this was a busy week, and probably a late episode to get online, you've been warned. But here we are. Worst, straightforward. Honest by the Chainsmokers, easily in that category. But dishonorable mention is going to They Don't Know by Jason Aldean. Honestly, it's a reread through that song that shows just how badly it's aged in my perspective since I reviewed that album last year, and that album wasn't good to begin with. Best though, see, it's hard for me to pick out a standout because there's a lot of good tracks that just miss greatness. So I think I'm giving the best of the week to Wish I Knew You by the Revivalists. Just because it reminds me a lot of Gnarls Barkley doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Crazy's a pretty damn great song. And honorable mention is going into New Rules by Dua Lipa, which just has great presence, real groove, and a lot of promising character to it. Wish the breakdown was a little bit better. I have no idea how much of this is gonna last on the charts, but maybe with fewer incoming albums, things might stabilize a little bit next week. But hey, till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you